So before we jump into Unreal Engine 5 and block out things, I want to have a decent mesh, like our vegetation. So we want to create some like a path maybe and a hill and stuff like that. So maybe some hills here and maybe some little elevation here. So we can just go crazy and be a little creative. So the thing is, GAEA, I'm not using it so much, but in this course we will just learn a couple of things. So what you can do, for example, this is a node-based application. GAEA has already like pre-coded algorithms. For example, you can get a mountain, you can just drag it in, and then you have this big mountain, and then you can make it bigger. And you can even, for example, enable bulky, and then you have like this big mountain, for example. So this is pretty nice. You can upscale your resolution. Let's do 1K. So 1K is fine, just to have a little more like definition. But we will also just export this in 4K. So if you have the free version, I believe you can only export as 2K, I believe. I'm not really sure. But yeah, we will export this as 4K, and I will also provide this one for you. So now let's try maybe and go for a hill. Just an example. So we can use this, maybe we have like some grass and maybe here's some soil and stuff like this. But I want to cover the plane because it looks pretty weird when we have like some buildings here, and we're going to have some buildings here, and then we will have a path here, and maybe this is a little elevated, but yeah, we can cover this with like stones and cliffs and fence and stuff. But we can just support this here if we just get additionally next to our hill node, we can also use the transform. Connect this one up, and then you can change the position to something like, let's do, for example, like here, maybe like so, just that we have a small elevation here. So now we can do this, and then you can also get a so-called combine node. And what we want to do is we get this one. We can just Control C and Control V. So we need this one. So this is like our first hill, and then we want to transform another hill to the second input. And then this one, you can just simply do, let's try, like so. So now when you click on combine, you can see they have different position now, but they're blending together perfectly. And now basically what we can do, copy those things again. So now you have 4. Sorry for that, this is a little weird. So we get those 2 and those 2, and let's do like so. And then you get another combine, and then we combine this one with this. Then we can click on this, and let's change the side to something like this. Maybe just a tiny bit more. We can get this one, and we also do, let me just delete this connection because he's telling me this is an error. I'm not really sure why that is. Yeah, then we can just see right here. Maybe let's do a little more, like so. And then you can use another combine. It's pretty simple. So now what we have, when we click on this last node, we have 4 hills properly aligned. And then you can also, if you want to, increase the height to, let's say, something like 60. Let's do 80. So this is one approach. We can just increase the height of the hills, 80 and 80, 80 and 80. And then we can click on the last combine. And now we can see, yeah, it fixes it just a little bit. But you can see it's really like, the reason why it's getting so weak, because we combine 4 things and we blend. So this means we blend all those settings together, and this is why it's not so powerful anymore. So you can, instead of blend, you can you can try different things like add, for example, screen. You can subtract. You can use multiply. So we are just using the combine node. So let's just maybe go and get this first combine here, and we use add. And then this one we also use add. And when we click on this, now you can see this is a little better, and then we can add this one as well. And you can change the ratio. So let's do more, like so. You just need to play with those combine values until you're satisfied. This one is the first hill, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, this is a little too high. So what I can do, basically, you can change the angle, go to the height, and let's put this down to 60. And now let's see. So this is just like one example on like how to have maybe those edges more like natural. We have some kind of natural terrain. This is fine for me, but this is a little flat and this is a little boring. So what we can do is basically get maybe an I want to have something muddy. Sheared plates and often some hills, so we can just try this. Let's try island. Let's try slump, and then let's do increase the scale. Okay, I don't like that. Let's do verse lens. Just put it into the combine B, and then we can just decrease the scale to maybe something like this. Let's see the end result, combine, and then you can just increase the ratio to something like this. So let's see how this is going to look in 2K. All right, I think this is fine for me. And let's play with the seed a little bit. So maybe if I'm lucky and I can find something. So this is cool because we have elevation here and we have elevation here, and this is a little deeper. This is what I'm aiming for. So let's see the end result. And then we can just weaken it a little bit. So to turn down the ratio. So maybe something like this should be fine. And like I'm aiming for like 20 by 20 meters. So we should consider also that we have the right scale. So now maybe let's just fix this one here. I'm not really sure. I believe this one, yeah. We can just scale this down a little bit and we can scale this one up. And we can scale this one up. Yeah, this is fine for me. Let's use the blend and decrease the ratio. Let's do multiply, subtract. Let's do power. So I think like add is good. Let's try and get something like this. Sweet. Let me increase the scale here. And also increase the scale of this one. So, but what I want to have is maybe like a road here, okay? Like a path, or maybe it goes like so. This is what I want to have. Let's try and go for thermal. Let's just hook this one up. Then let's go increase the strength and the duration a little bit. Apply. Yeah. So what thermal is doing, it gives us like this sand. You can use it for like sand or snow sediments. This is pretty nice. So I think this looks much softer but much better. So we still have creases, and at the same time we have like, yeah, I think this looks fine. So you can use like either snow for this, or yeah, whatever you can use. But we're going to vertex paint. So of course you can feel free later. You can paint those as snow if you want, and then you can blend smoothly here. And maybe this is like grass. So you can use like different styles of vegetations. So what we need to do, we want to walk around. So this must be like some type of road. Of course we can import this into Blender, and this whole mesh, we can displace it, and then we have the exact same thing and inside Blender, and then you can just smooth this one out. Scope this path if you want to. You can also straighten it. Of course, this is possible, and feel free to do that. But I remember that we have inside GAEA, we have some kind of mask. So let me just search for that. I might just gonna speed this one up. I think I was blind, I'm not sure, but here is a mask. So I'm not really sure why I didn't find it. So just get a mask. And that's it. And you can just hook this one up here into the mask. So it's going to take a little while because we have hills and stuff like that. And then, so think logically. A mask is that we want to have certain things affected and certain things are not affected. So let's just try and edit this mask. And then you also have the top view. Okay, so now let's do a size of maybe, I'm not sure, let's do 120. Or maybe 122, something like this. And then we can just, let's be creative here. So we want to have maybe a path like this. Okay. Something like that. And then we can check the terminal here. And we should not hook this one up to terminal. All right. This is a little useless. We need to hook this one up into our combine. So get this one here and just put it in this mask. So now what you can see, it's basically now the opposite. So this is the path, right? So this is basically just now the opposite. So what we need to do, we go back into the mask. Let's decrease the power to something like this. So it's a little sharper and we want to edit the mask. And we can clear this, and then we can just paint everything. Sorry, let's click on this. I was on erase. So first, let's paint everything. So this means everything is affected like before. So everything is now completely red, and then we can just click on erase, and then we do like a small road. Let's do something like this. Let me undo that. Okay, this is just horrible. Horrible programming, sorry for that. Please don't undo. It's not going to work. Edit mask. So now let's check the combine. So now you can see this is working. Of course, this is too strong, so we will just fix this in a bit. But the thing is, this is not affected because this is a hill, right? So we also need to connect this one. So let's put it here. We need to connect this one into all combine nodes. And then we can see the combine. And we can go back to the mask and we do increase the power. I know this is a little confusing. When we decrease the power, it's getting weaker. But you have to consider the mask is inverted. This is the reason. So now you can see it's better, but still I think we should aim for something like this. Let's see. Maybe we should aim. Let's get more. Okay, so I believe this is fine. So what I really want to have here, that this is like perfectly flat. And I think we should have this a little bigger. So let's edit the mask. And then we can just make this a little bigger. I think this is better. So we do something like this. Okay, so let's see. Okay, and now this is a little too strong. So what we need to do, so we are masking out the hill and the worse lands. And we can also mask the terminal. And then also let's get a clamp node. And we put this here. We clamp everything. And also we clamp, we mask the clamp. So now we can squash it down like so. Yeah, let's do something like this, and we can put it up a little bit. Let's delete the mask. Let's go to clamp. So now what we can do instead is we get a combine. So we combine the this whole thing. So basically like everything except for the path. But at the same time, we wanna get this one. So we input the mask and then use the input. And now we can add, subtract. So let's do multiply. Then we can use something like this. Let's edit the mask. So we have like a bigger path here. And then also, let's decrease the power to something like this. Okay, I think this is too much, so let's increase the power. Alright, so I think this is fine for me. And then we can use another combine. We mask this combine as well. We get the end result. We do add. So now I go for a different mask. I just erase this. You can just erase here with this button. And let me just get a straight road like this. So it doesn't need to be perfectly straight. So it's fine. Should have something like this. Then maybe here. So maybe something like this. And then you hook this mask, you hook this up into a input clamp. And this clamp goes into a mask combine, into the mask input of our combine. And the first channel is terminal. And then you can just see the combine node. And then we already have something which is fine. So something like this. Okay. And if you think like, yeah, but this is like too wavy or something, of course, you can just go back and decrease the power. Like so. So I think this is perfect. Then you can go back to the clamp here and just increase the max. So this is fine for like a path, but still we need some space here because we want to have like a house and stuff. So I think that we should have this bigger, so that we're not only using this as a path, but also we need to have like flat areas for to place buildings. So we only have those hills in the background. Okay, so I think this is fine. So basically we can put in like some house, like some buildings here and some buildings here. They can stick into this, into those hills. I don't really care. But then we still have some space, enough space here to walk around. And then on top of that, we can just use erosion. This is a classic. It just gives us like more detail. Then let's do duration. And let's decrease the strength. Okay, so I think this is fine. Now I have some kind of dead end, so I just made this one in the mask. I just painted this one red because I think we should have like a house here as well. So this is elevated, and then we just walk here, and then we have like a house here which looks nice. We have some small buildings here, and maybe some small buildings here. This should be something like mud, so because this is a flat area, and I love puddles and mud, just my favorite vegetation material. And then we can just transition into like something like sand here, and maybe here grass, and we can use trees and foliage. So yeah, let's just try to be creative. Okay, so when we go on erosion, let me see, maybe this is a little too strong. I think this is still way too strong, so let's just see. Yeah, this is way too strong, so let's disable the aggressive mode. Apply. Okay, yeah, I think so. We do have a little bit of erosion, but still we have those nice sediments. So this is harmonizing with the sand later and stuff like this. Okay, so but yeah, we will just use like small houses, like small wooden like barns and stuff like that, just small things. And maybe we can also use concrete, like a mix of concrete. I'm not sure what we can do. Maybe we also can just use concrete with puddles and stuff like that. So now this should be our vegetation. So this is a small area. I said something like 20 by 20 or maybe 30 by 30 meters. Yeah, maybe 30 by 30 meters, something like this. So we will just export that. So how can you do this? You have this build here on the right side. Resolution should be 4K and normal bit is fine. And then you have something like mark for export. So you can just, there's something, yeah, mark for export. So this means that this mesh will be, so there's like two strategies you can use. You can also just export those, export the height map, and then you can just displace it onto a plane. But I think this is going to take a lot more time, but we can export let me see. Let me just export the mesh. So let's get rid of this, the don't mark for export. Just get the output measure. In this case, it's perfectly fine because I just want to use this mesh. Later, when we use mountains, so we will come back to GAEA, we want to have mountains in the far background, the far distance. So we want to have like a huge mountain here and a huge mountain here and stuff like that to get like this amazing atmosphere. But this is where we, of course, use the displacement map. But for now, we can just export this mesh, basically. So, build destination. You can just use, I don't know, let's go to documents, GAEA, builds. Let me just delete all those mountains here, and we will just put it inside builds, GAEA, documents, GAEA, builds, and resolution is 4K, and we just start the build. So this is gonna take a while. I said GAEA, builds, and we named this one Silent Hill Terrain. So now I have a separate window, and it's gonna take some time. And yeah, after export, I will see you in the next episode.